What is up, YouTube? N64 Fun Time coming back at you today. If you watched my video yesterday, you know what's coming today. We are doing a Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle Donkey Kong DLC adventure review. Before we get started, please feel free to click down below on the like and subscribe buttons. I always appreciate that. But without further ado, let's get right into it. So this was one of my favorite games of last year. I really enjoyed this game for the strategy elements. It makes you think a lot. It may have been a little bit on the easy side, but it was something new, it was something fresh, and the charm of this game was absolutely awesome. The story they set up was very funny, it was very engaging. I liked kind of the collecting aspect and kind of world exploration that they had in it on top of the actual gameplay. It kind of broke it up really well, and it just was a really fun, charming game. Like I said, it was pretty easy. It was a little bit on the short side. I think I put 35 hours into the whole story, but you can go back and replay everything, so there is more value there. So the DLC is $15, and when I heard this was coming out and it was going to be $15, I was pretty excited for it because they definitely touted this as a substantial download, and when I actually downloaded it, it is. This game is 2.7 gigabytes and the DLC is 1.4 gigabytes, so over half of what the original game was is how large the DLC is, which is so significant, it's ridiculous. So right away we know we're getting this massive DLC, and when you start up the game, it actually makes you start a whole new adventure. So you're actually starting almost the entire amount of stuff they had in the first game over. It's taking place in a different world. You have a little cutscene in the beginning where some stuff gets sucked in through the washing machine again, and Rabbid Peach kind of gets sucked in there and goes into this Donkey Kong world. And right away you kind of start out the game with these new characters, and as far as I know, in this new DLC you only have 3 characters to choose from, which I kind of like, because the first game, or the normal game, you have all these characters that you slowly get throughout the game, and each of them has very specific abilities. But early on in the game, for me, I established my favorite 3 characters, and I never wavered from them at all. I never switched my characters out ever. I just stuck with the same 3. And the game never gives you like a, hey, you need to switch to this character at the beginning of the level to like do the level really well. It never did that, so I always picked the same 3 characters, and I never got to actually use the variety of characters they used. So I think they recognized that that was an issue, and they only give you 3 characters to start off with, and I think that you only get those 3 characters throughout the entire game. But what they did is they took a bunch of characters in the original game and squished all their abilities into the characters. That way you have these 3 characters, but they have pretty much all of the abilities of the characters from the original game, which is really cool. It's really fun because you get to use some of these abilities that I didn't get to use in the original game. So who do you get? You get Donkey Kong, of course, it's Donkey Kong's Adventure, and you get Cranky Kong, and then you also play as Rabbid Peach, who got sucked into this world. And right away, they definitely make it a point to say, hey, these characters are different, this gameplay is going to be very different, and I got excited just from the first map I started playing. So with Donkey Kong, you have a few really cool things. He has the ability to pick up allies and throw them to different areas of the map. He has the ability to pick up enemies and throw them at other enemies on the map. And what's really cool is he actually has the ability to pick up the explosive boxes that are set up through the map, and you can actually throw those at other characters. So his ability is really cool that he can do that. It adds a whole new element to the game. Donkey Kong specifically can actually move around the map very easily with these new swinging rope elements as well, which is really cool. He can cover a lot of distance on the map, and you can actually flank people much easier and move around the map much easier than you could in the original game. He's got a ground pound, which is just his close attack, which is similar to like the hammer attacks and everything else in the game. And then he's got like the movement shot and stuff like that. So other than the throwing abilities and his normal attack, which is kind of like a boomerang attack, which can hit multiple enemies on the field, Donkey Kong isn't crazy out of the ordinary other than his movement and his ability to throw stuff. But Cranky Kong is where this game really just kind of steps it up. Cranky Kong has a few really cool abilities. He has basically a shotgun weapon, which is really nice for getting multiple enemies. And then his secondary weapon is like a lob bomb attack, which covers a large group of enemies. But what really makes him special and what makes this game just flow really well is to complement Donkey Kong. If you throw Cranky Kong with Donkey Kong, he actually gets like this aerial attack where he shoots downward with his weapon and can damage quite a few enemies in a large area, which is really cool. So they took these characters, and I feel like instead of having them be so separate, they took them and made them complement each other really, really, really well. So them only putting 3 characters in this DLC, I think is going to work really well because they mashed up the characters well enough and gave them new abilities to be just one cohesive unit. It really, really feels good. You feel efficient. And a few small minor things that I did like about this game that you guys might not think that is a big deal is they cleaned it up in the sense of the leveling up system. So in the original game, you leveled up with orbs, and they came in kind of just odd amounts, 20, 30, 50, and then when you level up, it'd be like 110 orbs or like 120 or like 30, and it was just kind of an odd thing. Not that it mattered very much, but this game scales it down a little bit. So instead of getting like 30 or 20 runes, orbs, you get runes instead, but you only get like 1 or 2. And when you level up your abilities, the abilities cost 1 or 2 or 3. So it cleans it up a little bit. And not that it's that big of a deal. They're literally just dropping a 0, but I feel like it cleans up the game a little bit and makes the leveling up a little more understandable, I guess. I don't know, and that's just kind of a personal thing that I thought was pretty cool. Another thing that they did is the kind of special levels or the challenge maps. In the original game, you'd actually have to re-go through the areas and run around quite a lot to find these challenge areas, and it was really kind of a pain in the butt. So what they did is they took all of the challenge maps and just put them right in the original hub world. Once you finish an area, you unlock them, and they're just right in the hub world. That way you don't have to go running around through the map again and waste time just on running around on an area you already explored before. It was kind of a pain in the butt, so they definitely cleaned that up, which I really, really, really like. I'm trying to think that all in all of what I've played, it's really, 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 really good stuff. I really appreciate it, and you can tell Ubisoft put so much love into this and really just kept what the Mario characters are just like in their essence. This game maintained the explorability in the map. You can still run around. There's things that you can find in the downtime between fights. Now, I really like this because there's an element of exploring, but I know a lot of people from the original game didn't like it. They just wanted to go from one fight to the next fight to the next fight, and you actually can't do that. There's puzzle elements in between each fight to kind of slow it down and make you explore the map. And like I said, I really like that, but if you didn't like that about the first one, it's still in this version. The exploration is still in this one, and the puzzle solving is still in this one. And I'm trying to think. There's a few things that were kind of odd or that I didn't like about this game or that I had issues with. One of them being in the cutscenes, Donkey Kong's texture of his fur. I don't know if it was my capture card or something that can be patched. And it's only Donkey Kong. His fur seems very blurred, and it's like it didn't get rendered right. It's almost like an old school like transparency where it's like dotted and like the fur just isn't there. It's kind of weird. Like I honestly don't think it rendered right when they did the game, and it's only in the cutscenes. It's just kind of an odd thing. And then another thing, I have had the DLC crash a few times. Some of them were like as I was defeating the mid-boss of the first area. As soon as he was defeated and it went to go to the animation, it just crashed and I had to restart the Switch. I was playing it in portable mode just to kind of play a little bit, so I actually didn't capture that. But I thought that was kind of weird that it was unstable enough when it was shooting to the cutscenes. So other than DK's fur and it crashing a few times, those are my only gripes. So the amount of stuff you get with this DLC for $15, you're pretty much getting an entirely new game. So if you liked this game just to start out with and you want more, $15 is well worth it. It is absolutely worth the $15. The humor is still there. There are so many times where I laughed in this game, and then in the DLC I laughed just the same. They kept the humor, they kept the charm. They held nothing back with this just being DLC. It just wasn't DLC to make money. It was lovingly put together DLC to give us, the people who really liked this, more of kind of the same thing with nothing removed from it. So I definitely give this a thumbs up. If you liked it, please download the DLC. It is so awesome. Ubisoft did such a good job taking care of these Nintendo characters in their game. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed it. If you were on the fence of downloading this DLC, I hope I convinced you to download it because it is well worth the 15 bucks. Anyway, until next time, N64 fun time. Be nice, stay positive, always be gaming.